This is Gene Krebs.
Hi there. Oh. Whoosh.
And we're high on Ohio.
In 1991, after having served 16 years in the State Department of Education as Assistant Superintendent and being the liaison between the Department of Education and the General Assembly, I decided that I really wasn't making any impact on what was going on in the state of Ohio in the education field. So I joined the group that was suing the state, the Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding. I didn't initiate the group. I joined the group in actually it was 1992 that I joined the group. I resigned from the state and made a conscious decision to work with the group that was suing the state with regard to the school funding issue. The local boards of education have limited decision-making powers because they don't have sufficient resources in many cases to actually make decisions. In fact, at that time and still to this day, many boards of education are presiding over reduced revenues, are presiding over reductions in force as opposed to building a better education system. It is true that the Constitution identifies our system of education as a state system. Right. The state is responsible for a thorough and efficient system.
Right.
But that doesn't in any way diminish the responsibility of local boards of education to provide for that system. The state does not deliver educational opportunities. Right. The state merely sets the standards, sets the pace, is the cheerleader for quality education. It's the local districts that deliver the product, the education product, and educate the young people. The issue here is that we, as a state, must identify the components of quality education. We must identify what we expect of young people.
Okay.
And then once we have done that, and thoughtfully so, it needs to go through a very vetting process, a process to really get at what it is kids really need in terms of opportunities and what they really need to demonstrate what they know at the end game. Now, until we do that, we can't, in fact, identify a number, a per pupil foundation level. And of course, that involves identifying the components of quality education for students that are prone to go into career programs, those that are handicapped or have disabilities, those that are in poverty situations. I want to give, and I don't often do this, but give the state some credit. As the Derolph case moved through the courts, we started out with the state's response was the Augenblick model. Okay. You know, the kind of the output model. Right. The successful schools model. And then it kind of, as the years went on and different legislative groups delved into the issue, there was a movement toward, well, maybe we need to look at inputs as well as outputs. Okay. And then at that point, they were, I think the state was getting it right. One of the great outcomes at Derolph was that today we have over 1,000 new buildings that have replaced probably 2,000 old buildings. Okay. And so
so we've mostly fixed that.
Well, but the capital bill that's now on the table, going through, I believe, the Senate at this point, has additional money to continue the process. By continuing the process, I mean they're helping districts that are more wealthy, have more property wealth per pupil. And so I suppose that this will go on for another few years to finish up. But the state has done a wonderful job, probably the first in the nation, probably the best in the nation in terms of...
On the buildings.
Right. We have put we as a state, we've really put the teachers and administrators in this state in a real turmoil. Because in this craze for reform, and many of the people that are talking about reform really have another agenda. And that agenda is privatization of public education. Many of the what I call the reforming groups, really have the intention of privatizing public education. We ought to be invested in what we have.
Okay.
What we have is good. And the vocational educators in this state have not sit around, waiting on the kids not getting jobs, training for careers that don't exist.
Right.
They've been updating, and I think they're a model for keeping pace. The bottom line is we need to be using that structure that we have in place and investing in that structure rather than inventing new structures. Teachers really do try to deal with poverty.
All right.
They do try to deal with kids with handicap.
Okay.
They do try to have each student blossom. Now, in poverty situations, they're working against a lot of odds.
For more about the Center for Community Solutions or their publications, please visit www.communitysolutions.com.